Hey everyone, here's another unboxing video for you, and we're going to talk real briefly about Stratagem's product called the Masters Relics Worldcrafting Tokens. And this is a set of accessories and tokens that you can use for any fantasy-based tabletop game, D&D, Pathfinder, or any of the other kind of the niche products, so long as they're using kind of that 1 inch by 1 inch proportional sizing as far as your maps are concerned. Anyway, so Stratagem is a company that I like because they make pretty good high quality items and very versatile sets of stuff. And so I say that because I have another product of theirs called the Masters Atlas World Crafting Tiles, which comes with a number of these pre-cut 1 by 1 inch grid tiles, which obviously are reversible. And in addition to that, they come with 48 map objects. And here's a couple examples here, which are also reversible. And these are also wet and dry erase capable. So you can draw on these with your wet or dry erase marker and go from there. Both of these items, actually, I'm going to talk about this other one in just a second. Both of these items obviously are available on Amazon. This one is, it was $14.99 on Amazon, and this Masters Atlas was $19.99. They do have one other version of this, which actually has full color map objects, and they have, it's like a green tile, and then you flip it over, and it's more of like a concrete or a castle kind of stone colored side to it as well. Again, dry and wet erase capable. That one is $24.99. So we've got $14.99, $19.99, $24.99 for the color version of this. And then finally, I thought I'd bring this in here just to show you, as a comparison, Pathfinder pawns made by Paizo. They have this dungeon decor pawn collection, and it kind of serves a very similar purpose as the Masters Relics tokens, but you'll find out there's not as many here, and they're not as well varied as these are here. So let's just look at these real briefly. When you open up the box, you get this handy dandy little booklet, and it goes over the various shapes that are inside your booklet, and also it will kind of give you some ideas of how you can use these items. Obviously, you don't need to abide by that, but you're welcome to if you need to. The quality of these, when you pull this out of the box, is a very high quality, nice thick pressed cardboard, very nicely die-cut shapes here. No graphics fall outside of the die cut, so everything you see printed is within the cuts, which is very nice. And the cuts themselves, like I said, are nice. So like as I'm pushing on the stone here, it is almost falling out as it is. So these are very easy to punch out, and they have that glossy sheen to them as well. I would suspect that these are also wet and dry erase capable. They don't really say on the box. I'm not sure if I'm going to risk it or not, but maybe I'll do a little research, and I could probably draw on the other part here and see how well it responds. But anyway, very glossy, and these are also reversible. So if you look at these, for example, I got a couple examples here. One is you've got this weapons rack here with a couple swords, a couple axes, and you have this this kind of a dead tree, or kind of a tree in the autumn or whatever. And you flip it over and you see you've got this green lush tree, and then this weapons rack here, which has a bunch of swords in it. Obviously, there's a pond here, and you flip it over and you got kind of a looks like maybe a dried up or murky kind of swampy kind of pond here. Anyway, so this set comes with, it says 200 pieces. I haven't had time to count all these. Obviously, they're still in their sheets, but I believe it. There's a lot of smaller pieces in here, torches and smaller stones and things like that, which you can use for a number of things. Going over to here, again, to this set, the Masters Atlas, like I said, most of it, what you're really buying are the tiles here for the dungeon maps. But like I said, you do get some of these other objects. Now, one thing that you may have noticed already, maybe you haven't, but these items the scale of them are significantly larger than that of their counterparts here in the Masters Relic set, which I will have to say the scale of the ones for the Masters Relics is much more conducive to the maps, the 1x1 maps. As you can see here, this table I pulled from the Masters Atlas is significantly larger than what looks to be the same table, honestly, from an artwork standpoint. Anyway, so it is likely that I will probably not use some of these unless we're visiting like a giant's tavern or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so you can also see here there's some differences in the scales for the doors. So here's a door from the Master's Relics token set. It's a lot smaller than the one that comes from the Master's Atlas set. And this is where I actually kind of prefer the larger format, because the bottom of this door seems to fit that 1 inch space very nicely, and then it's got this nice kind of a three-dimensional look to it, isometric kind of thing or whatever going on there. Whereas this one, I mean, it's got kind of the same thing going on, but it's not quite, it doesn't quite look as good in my opinion. So, you know, whatever. Your mileage may vary. You may decide that you want to mix some of these together, which there's no problem in doing that at all. Here we go. Here's another example. Here's like a stairway, which probably the image itself may fit mostly into a 1x1 grid square, but then you see the rest of it with a border and everything makes it, you know, like an 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch roughly in dimensions there. So I don't know. It's my OCD, you know, kind of sparking up there, but it is what it is. Here's a shelf, you know, fits into a nice 2-inch square space. This one fits into a 3-inch square space. Yeah, so the scale of the ones from this set is definitely much more conducive to the 1x1 grid that most people use for their miniatures. Let's talk briefly about the Pathfinder Pawns, the Dungeon Decor set. They have another set of props. It's called the Traps and Treasures set, which I do not have. But I will say the one thing about the Dungeon Decor set, and really all the Paizo pawn collections, the artwork is amazing. It's always really good. It's very high quality. However, the one main complaint that I normally see from most Paizo pawn collections is that the artwork typically will fall outside of the die cuts, which in this case, probably not a huge deal because we're just looking at just props and things like that. With some of their other pawns, like their monsters and characters and things like that, people have mentioned that the die cut will cut off parts of, you know, weapons or parts of clothing or things like that, so you don't really get the whole image, you know, within the cut. But in any case, here's an example of a sheet of props here, and as you can see, you know, we've got beds, we've got some bookshelves, coffins, and, you know, some doors. And again, the artwork is great. The nice thing is that you know, you flip them over and it's the same image. And also, you'll notice that there is text on one side and there is no text on the other. I'm not a fan of having text on these. I mean, I feel like you should be able to use it for whatever you want and not be constrained by the description or the text that's on the item itself. The other thing to mention too is that some of these are intended for upright use, so you will need to have some of those pawn bases. Paizo sells them. They're just those little, it's for your miniatures or your paper miniatures, plastic circular bases with a slot in it, and you punch those out and you just mount them inside the slot. And so you got a door or you've got a bookshelf, whatever. And nothing says you couldn't do the same thing with some of these as well. But the nice thing is it's not required to make these look good without having those bases in place. So overall, the quality of the stratagem items, I think, are superior in many ways to the Paizo. Not to say that Paizo stuff isn't good. It's very good stuff, but I do like this set probably the best so far as like accessories and tokens. One thing I will mention, though, is that even though the quality is great, one thing I have noticed on Amazon specifically, I mean, only because that's the only place I've shopped for them, is that there are some complaints about the boxes or the items being damaged. And I don't believe it's a cause of shipment. I think it's more of a cause of handling. And so for this item specifically, you can see there's kind of bunched up on the corner there, like it kind of got jammed into a corner somewhere during packaging. And I say that because the box that this came in was not damaged at all on the inside or the outside. So either one of two things happened. One was that it was damaged in transit, where the box just moved around in transit, jammed itself up into a corner, or it was damaged in the distribution facility where it was being sent from. I kind of want to think it's probably the latter, not the former, because there's a lot of complaints about that online. And you can see here how it manifests itself here on your items is that you get like bunched up corners like this, like when you have a book that gets dropped or something like that. Now, this doesn't bother me. I don't really care, myself. But to be honest, if you're buying this, like any product, you would expect that it would arrive to you undamaged. And I think I have about 4 or 5 tiles that are like this. So that's the one bad part about this. In any case, totally recommend this for $14.99. It's hard to go wrong with over 200 items that you can use with your maps. And I don't know. I know it's easy to get overwhelmed and use all these things. So I would recommend to you just find the ones that work the best with your game, your narrative, and things like that. Don't go nuts. Don't like put down everything. But just enough, I think, to add a little bit of flavor to your game. So I hope that you do. If you buy these, respond in the comments below. Let us know how it goes. Or if you have your own tokens that you like to use, also, respond and let me know how it goes. Okay, well, happy gaming and be safe, everybody. I know it's kind of a weird time right now with coronavirus, so I hope you're all healthy and happy and safe. All right, see you next time.